Want to get into the conversation of today. So we're talking about seeking professional help, and when it comes to conversations around mental health, we are always very skeptical about, we don't know who to talk to. People always talk to, they say, talk to someone. Anytime you just talk about mental health, it's always talk to someone. But what we found out is that most times talking to someone is not enough. Talking to the right person matters. And that is why we are having this conversation today. Because there are certain things that happen in our lives and we need to seek professional help. It's not just enough to talk to anybody. There are certain people that have been trained, certain professionals who are mental health professionals that can offer help. So that's what I'll be talking about briefly this evening. So when we talk about, so we're going to start with the first thing, which is who are mental health professionals and who needs therapy. So mental health professionals basically they include psychologists, they include psychiatrists, they include therapists and counselors. And when I talk about therapy, people often have the opinion that therapy is for mad people, you know. But the truth is that therapy is for anyone who needs support. Whether you're dealing with stress, you're dealing with relationship issues, you're dealing with trauma, you're dealing with grief, or a sort of personal growth, everyone can benefit from therapy at some point in their life. So let's start by defining who a mental health professional is. So a mental health professional or mental health specialist is a professional that is trained to assess, to diagnose, and to treat mental health issues. These people, they often work with individuals, they work with groups, they work with families to address various mental health challenges. And then there are different types of these people. We have the psychiatrist. So psychiatrist is a medical doctor who specializes in mental health. They can prescribe medication and they often work in psychiatric hospitals. And then we have psychologists. These are professionals who have advanced degrees in psychology and they'll provide therapy, assessments, and things like that. Then we have people known as the licensed therapists and the counselors. These are the people that are trained to provide therapy and counseling for mental health issues. Someone else on this list are the psychiatric nurses. So they are nurses, but they specialize in mental health care and they often work in hospitals and clinics. Another people on the list are the social workers. So we have social workers everywhere, but some social workers specialize specifically in mental health. They provide therapy, they manage cases, and they offer support. And whenever it comes to conversations like this, people wonder, how exactly can I find a mental health specialist? To get them through referrals, to find them through um, your primary health doctor or your GP, general practitioner could know a psychiatrist or any other psychologist, clinical psychologist that could offer up help and so many other ways. But let's talk about the different types of therapies and how they work. So there are different types of therapies and the very common ones, we have something called cognitive behavioral therapy. So it's a combination of two things, cognitive therapy and behavioral therapy. So this particular type of therapy focuses on rewriting your thought patterns, and this is the most common type of therapy that we have. Whenever you hear someone say, I'm going for therapy, that is the therapy that they are talking about. It is the cognitive behavioral therapy. That's the most common one. We have talk therapy as well. This is a type of therapy where we share and process our feelings. So you just come and talk, share and process your feeling. I mean, that's the kind of therapy that we do here at Mutation Series. We just come together, we just talk. And if you look at it, when you're done talking, you see that you feel lighter, you feel better, like you've released all the energies that you had locked up in you. You feel a lot more better. And then there is group therapy. In group therapy, people come together An example of that, we have, I just finished watching The Good Doctor. So in Good Doctor, there's this guy who was Perez, Dr. Perez. He was a drug, a narcotics addict. So there's something called Narcotics Anonymous. So in Narcotics Anonymous, we have several people who are addicted to narcotics coming together. So this one comes, shares their story. This one comes, shares their story. Oh, I'm addicted to this. This is how I'm trying to get out of it. So that collective, this thing, that collective support is group therapy. And if someone is failing, another person can help someone else up. And there are also other forms. There's even art therapy. Under art therapy, we have things like dance therapy and so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to therapy, there are a lot of misconceptions and stigmas that surround it. One of the major misconceptions you hear is that people feel like therapy is only for the sick. If you say you're going for therapy, they are like, what is wrong with you? Some people believe that therapy is a waste of time and money. Some people believe that prayer or family advice is enough. That's all you need. The truth is there's several reasons that have made it like that. Let's start breaking it down one after the other. Therapy is only for the sick. So there are just a lot of, when it comes to mental health, we don't like to have mental health conversations. And I always like to explain it this way. When you are sick, if I get sick today, if I have a fever, everybody knows, everybody will tell me, oh, she has malaria, go to the hospital and find treatment, you give me medication, I get well. If you have a headache, the same thing. It's very easy for me to walk into the clinic and get treatment. But whenever it comes to mental health, the stigma is always much. People always, there's just this shame that surrounds mental health conversations. And you just feel like before you can get help for mental health, it means there's something seriously wrong with you. It means you are mad. But this isn't how it's supposed to be. The mind, your mental health is what controls the brain, controls every other part of the body. And once something has affected the brain, and it shuts down, it's going to affect every other thing that you are doing. So that is why we need to pay attention to our mental health. Therapy is not a waste of time and money. There are a couple of reasons why people feel therapy is a waste of time and money. Number one reason could be that people are not willing to put in the work. People are not willing to put in the work because when you do cognitive behavioral therapy, you're going to be working hand in hand with your therapist to find solutions to your problem. You're not just going to just stay there and do nothing. They're going to give you some tasks and ask you, go and write about this, go and think about this, journal this, do this, and come up with this. And when you're giving some of those tasks, most times people are not willing to put in the work. People are not willing to do any of those things. And then they come back and say, therapy is a waste of money. Another reason why they might say that it's a waste of time and money is probably because they have not found the right therapist for them. Most of us, we use certain creams, you use certain soap. You might have to try out several before you find the one that is suitable for your skin type. That's the same thing with therapy. Because someone referred you to a therapist does not mean that is the right therapist for you. Okay? That someone is your therapist doesn't mean it is the right therapist for you. Therapy is not doesn't just it's not just that kind of straight line grab that, oh, I've met this person and then that is the therapist for me. You might not be compatible with your therapist and you need to find another therapist. So most times these two reasons will make people say, oh, therapy is a waste of time and money. So prayer and family advice. Is prayer enough? Is prayer the only, because Nigeria is a very religious society. Africa is a religious continent. And as a religious people, we often like to say prayer solves everything. There's a place of prayer, but there's also a place for therapy. If you are a religious person or someone who believes in God, you know that God has given us wisdom. God has given us wisdom to solve problems that we have in our lives. That's the reason he created medicine. That's the reason he created science. Because as a human being, you need science in order, I mean, okay, today we have aeroplanes, right? It's very easy for a human being to say humans cannot fly, but today science has been able to create aeroplanes. If you just want to say, oh, I'm going to pray, and when I pray, I will know how to fly, it might happen, it might not happen. But what we are saying is God has given wisdom to certain people. Some scientists have researched, they've done studies, and they're able to bring some evidence-based solutions to certain mental health issues that people are facing. And you are just at home saying, prayer is going to solve my problem. When there are people that can actually help you collaborate with God in solving that problem, family advice is enough. Some people believe this. Family advice can never be all your friends are, because people are struggling with different things. Your parents, your family, they might have their own traumas that they don't even know about. Some of them are not even aware of the traumas that they carry. They are not aware. And then you are now going to them for advice. You're now reaching out to them to help you out with your mental health struggles. They are not qualified and they are not objective. They are not objective because they are related to you. They will not see things clearly like when you're speaking to a total stranger. So these are some of the common misconceptions when it comes to mental health. Stigma strives on ignorance, fear, and cultural beliefs. Stigma, mental health stigma, it strives on ignorance, fear, and cultural belief. Most times in our society, once we see someone who is struggling with a mental health challenge, we just label this person as insane, we label this person as demon possessed. Okay, a lot of things that just surround this is all as a result of ignorance, it's all as a result of fear, it's all as a result of our cultural beliefs. And we can only break down these things through awareness and open conversations. So, what are the real benefits of therapy? Some of the benefits of therapy include relief from depression and anxiety, better sleep, focus and productivity, improved relationships, healthier coping mechanisms. Healthier coping mechanisms. Okay, so because I'm a storyteller and I love to tell stories, I'm going to tell a story that I've probably told a million times over. So in 2020, I got into a relationship, right? And I've been sold this fantasy of, the love of your life. You meet the love of your life, and everything is perfect. And then you start dating, and you're married, and you live happily ever after. At least that was what I thought. And everything was good till it was not good. And it was a very, very difficult relationship. We kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And eventually, when it ended, it felt like my life had ended. But one of the things I did not want to do was to go back to that relationship after it had ended. And I did something I'd never done before. I went on Google and I searched how to move on from a relationship, because in previous times I'd broken up with my ex a couple of times and I would go back, breaking up, go back, breaking. I didn't want to go back. And then when I did that research, after a couple of searches, landed on I discovered this therapist. Her name is Kathy Martin, and just by mere virtue of there was this particular playlist on narcissism, that was the playlist I needed that helped me heal from my trauma. How did it help me heal? Kathy Martin doesn't know anything about me. She's not my friend. She's not my relative. She's not my family member. Now, if I were to talk to my friend, when I was talking to my friends about the issues I was facing in my relationship, they were often like, oh, um, relationships are difficult. It's not always rosy. Do you think it's going to be a better? These were the kind of advice I was getting from my friends. But when you're talking to somebody who is very objective, someone who is not doesn't have any benefits, it's always very, very different. And that was what this woman helped me do. She helped me see things from a different light that I've never seen things from, a very different way. Like, she brought light to my darkness. A lot of things that happened in my life started making sense to me. I learned about my attachment styles. I learned a lot about my childhood wounds. I learned a lot about my parenting, the way I was raised, and why it made me take some decisions that are taken in my life. That is what therapy does. Therapy helps you heal. It helps you heal from really, really difficult things, messed up situations that you find yourself in. But in our world, we just fling therapy and feel like it's nothing. Okay. Now, you might be wondering, so how can I find the right therapist for me? The truth is, we are very fortunate at this time, at this point in our life. There are a lot of apps, there are a lot of therapy apps online, both locally in Nigeria and even globally, that can help you find healing. And you can start getting therapy for as low as 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 naira. And you can find a therapist that is right for you. Can find a therapist that is right for you. There are a lot of these apps. There are apps like BetterHelp. There are apps like My Therapist. There are apps like Blue Room Care, 360 Psych, Best Therapy, PsychNG, and all of these people provide psychotherapy. See, mental health professionals, they exist for a reason. They exist in order for us to get help. They don't just exist for nothing's sake. So it's very important that you check the credentials of these people, you start a trial session, you you know, because one thing about therapy is that it's always very, very confidential. Find someone you feel comfortable with, and then it's accessible. You don't really need to go to an office in order to get therapy. You can get it from the comfort of your home. You can get it from your smartphone nowadays. So we live in a very, very much better world where therapy is accessible. So to conclude this conversation this evening, seeking help is a sign of strength and not weakness. Seeking help is a form of strength and not weakness. We often feel like for you to seek professional help means that you are at your worst of worst, you're at your lowest of. It's not a sign of weakness. We are living in a world where people are broken, people are carrying hurt, walking up and down, hurting other people, hurting other people. Parents are hurting their children. Romantic partners are hurting their romantic partners. Bosses are hurting their their people are hurting their co-workers. Bosses are hurting their inferiors. This is what we are seeing in our world today. But imagine a world where when people face trauma, they come face to face with that trauma and find healing from it and find a way out of it. Imagine what sort of world we are going to have when everybody finds a way to find healing out of whatever struggles that they are facing. Imagine what a beautiful world we are going to have. Imagine a world where two couples come together, two partners come together to form a couple, and both of them have taken time to do the work, to do the inner healing. Because you cannot live in denial and say, I'm all perfect, I'm all good. We all carry these traumas, we all have this trauma. We all have this trauma, we all have these childhood wounds. But it's very important that you don't just carry this trauma and start traumatizing other people, but you take your time to find healing. Truth is that mental health and emotional struggles, they are often invisible. And then when you tell people about it, they tell you it's all in your head. There's also, there's also a lack of access to a lot of psychologists and mental health professionals. The mental health space is still growing, it's still underdeveloped and all. But we cannot use our pastors, we cannot use our imams, we cannot use guidance counselors to replace the place of trained professionals, people who understand the complexities of mental health, people who understand how the brain works, people who have studied neuroscience. We cannot use our pastors, use our family members, use our imams to replace them. There is therapy routes, there is My Therapy NG, there is Mentally Aware Nigeria. you can find there's better help, there's talk space, you can find somewhere a professional who can hold your hands and walk you through your trauma. Honestly speaking, your mental health deserves as much care as your physical health. So you don't have to wait until you are at your breaking point to seek professional help. So I really hope that this conversation this evening has charged someone to see the importance of seeking professional help. Seeking professional help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. And let's make up our minds to let's make up our minds to make the world a better place by healing ourselves, and then that way making our relationships with other people in our lives better. So thank you very much everybody for coming on today's Mutation Monthly series. I hope you've learned a lot from these conversations, and I really hope to hear your thoughts in the comments and anywhere else we'll talk. So till the next time we come your way, God's light Ago, and I am signing out. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening.